It has been quite surprising year already for the Nintendo Switch. Consumers were surprised at how home console games can be played in a portable device. Skeptics were surprised at how well sales have been, and developers have been surprised with what could be done with the system's hardware and power. Along the way, there are at least 4 well-known developers who were very critical of the Switch's lack of power in comparison with the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. In this video, we will discuss quotes from each skeptical developer and how far off their assumptions were wrong about the Switch's failure that they implied they wanted. Mohamed Alavi, the first flat-out critic of the Switch, is a level designer from Respawn Entertainment, most notably involved in the development of 2016 Game of the Year candidate, Titanfall 2. He had also worked at Infinity Ward for their Call of Duty games. On October 2016, when the Switch was first unveiled, he appeared on Drunk Tech Review to talk about the Switch after first seeing a trailer of Zelda. This was what he had said.
I've got to tell you, I was excited about it because Nintendo's been in such a niche market recently, like, you know, catering to like the handheld and like, I'm gonna be honest with you, the kids, they've been so underpowered that they don't have the support of the third parties because they're all, you know, making for PC, Xbox One, and PS4. Okay.
And that's huge.
And it's no different.
I'm not gonna be able to play Titanfall on it.
No, fuck no.
Can you tell me?
Well, they're not.
No, you're not gonna be able to play Titanfall.
No, seriously, no.
That's the same Zelda from the Wii U.
Man, we have an audience here. Can I play Titanfall 2 on the Switch?
No.
Okay.
You're right, Mo. When has a game with terrible graphics ever sold well? I mean, sure. This was taped well before the very first games were revealed, 5 months away from the system's worldwide release in March. I'll give him some credit that it was still too early to determine how powerful the console was going to end up being, and that he appeared on a show called Drunk Tech Review, but I mean, he's a game developer that has only worked on mindless shooters, so what does he know? Hey Mo, is anybody interested in a Titanfall 2 port on the Switch?
No, fuck no.
Keep your words soft and sweet, because you may have to eat them later. Next is lovable Lorne Laning, the creator of Oddworld. On the Kind of Funny Games podcast, he had gone on record in April to heavily criticize Nintendo's direction in focusing more on mobile gaming, and here is what he had to say. You would think, okay, the Switch, it's mobile, this is interesting, how well are other developers going to bring titles over? Not very well, because you're going to have to spend more time, energy and effort to get it on that console, an underpowered console that's going to have fewer units in the market. The thinking has to change. The biggest problem I see at Nintendo is the thinking. Personally, I think it killed Iwata, that he couldn't move the organization into a really successful arena. It's a tragedy because Nintendo brought this business back. We're all playing today because of Nintendo's valiantness. Then they controlled quality, they had controls which were really part of its longevity and made the game business a valid space again. Now those controls, they really need to get 21st century about it, and they're not. A few things he doesn't realize about the Switch is that Nintendo cannot compete with Sony in the home console market, and ever since the Wii, they never have tried to. They know that it is a fight that they cannot win. Their most successful venture today for over 25 years is in portable gaming. Even before the Wii, they have had that and done very well with that, and they know it is one thing that they have done much better than Sony at. You don't want to have another supercomputer that does all the same stuff as the PS4. What does trying to be 21st century mean? Being a console that all it does is play games in high fidelity? We've always had that, Lorne. How many consoles has it been that have been touted to be the most powerful? Up next is Reinhard Polaz, the Director of Business and Product Development at THQ Nordic. While THQ Nordic is working on porting a number of games to the Switch, Police has stated in an interview with GamesIndustry.biz that he wishes that the Switch had more power, because many of the games they were working on require a lot of effort to get running on the system. We've been in touch with Nintendo about Switch for more than a year, so we've been looking at it for our current lineup, and we look wherever it's possible. It's a bit sad that they haven't gone out with a more beefy hardware, but it is what it is, so we just have to work our way around it. Battle Chasers Night War has once also been a challenge to get running smoothly on Switch, and their open-world sci-fi RPG LX is just too demanding right now. Well, at least his words were a lot kinder than Lorne's. Games are always going to be a lot of work to make, as they are to port. Nobody said that the Switch was the easiest console ever to make games for, but for games that are very ambitious and expensive to make, effort still has to be taken to put a large game onto a portable system. If you want the Switch to have more power, perhaps it's as powerful as it could get for now. How small did they manage to get it is also a big factor into its development. While I personally think that it should have been a little thicker, I understand if they wanted it to be as thin as a smartphone. But here's what you don't seem to understand still: you're in the portable game business, and you don't even know it. Any developer that is working on a Switch game is working on a portable game. Take-Two is in the portable game business. Bethesda is in the portable game business. Ubisoft is in the portable game business. The Switch is a mighty step up from the 3DS, and if not for the Switch, you wouldn't even think about making a portable version of Battle Chasers: Night War on the 3DS. Finally, we have EA. I could go with Patrick Soderland, or Peter Moore, or Andrei Lazarescu, the lead team member of the Bucharest division of EA Sports, responsible for the development of FIFA 18 on the Nintendo Switch, but let's all clump them into one. It's clear that EA has never planned that much support on Nintendo systems, and they never plan to. Anyway, here is Andrei's direct quote to Eurogamer. As much as we would have wanted to use Frostbite, you can't without making the whole engine work. We intentionally chose to do a custom engine because we felt that rather than try and get Frostbite running and end up having to downsize things and making it just a smaller, lower quality version of the PS4 and Xbox One versions, we wanted this to be a FIFA that stands on its own 2 feet. We want people to recognize it and play it for what it is rather than saying, hey, you're getting SH*****Y, second-rate game. This is a full FIFA that players will enjoy. Later in the interview this happens. The Switch version has its own engine built from the ground up. The hardware is very difficult, Lazarescu says, and it means a future mode exactly like the Journey is unlikely. Likewise, those new additions I mentioned would take an army of people, if it was possible, to be done. This doesn't add up. They wanted to create a whole new game when they could have just used the Frostbite engine, but it would take too long to include features like the ones that are automatically included with the other versions of the game. They wanted to use a different engine so that we're not, quote, getting a shoddy second-rate game, yet they still acknowledge that all the features will not be there. The more that I think about it, the more I see this as less of a development team problem and more of a corporate management problem. Because when you compare versions of NBA 2K18 on the Switch to the other versions, they're pretty much identical, besides the visual differences. In an interview, you will read that Visual Concepts senior producer Rob Jones has stated that our president said from day one is that the Switch had to be the same exact game that was on PS4 and Xbox One, so by starting there, you know, the bar was already set extremely high, because we were already working really hard just to get it on platforms we already knew, and then suddenly to take that and miniaturize it for the portable, you know, the portable Switch. Obviously it also plays when it's docked, but to get all those features working on there was kind of a gargantuan task. And I get it, this was one of the very first games ever announced for the Switch, but since then, they have announced 2 other games, WWE 2K18, and LA Noire. Patrick Soderland has gone on record saying that FIFA 18 was going to be the only game they were making for the Switch in 2017. The funny thing about this is that while the Switch is outselling the PS4 and Xbox in monthly sales, EA is doing a lot of marketing for the Xbox One X, a mid-generation refresh console that has very little hype surrounding it. They're touting 4K gaming for current and future titles like Anthem, Madden NFL 18, FIFA 18, and
Need for Speed, Payback.
They want high-fidelity gaming, they want high frame rate, they want big budgets. As I said before, it's not a rule for games to have these things. It's one thing if you're a third-party developer and versions of your game on Nintendo platforms don't sell, but I thought that more third-party developers like EA would be more optimistic because it has adequate graphics and a market that Nintendo has been king of since 1989. Think of PS4 and Xbox One as new cars, and think of the Switch as a used car. I'm not talking 10 or 20-year-old cars, but 2 or 3-year-old cars. You can opt to spend a ton of cash for the latest and greatest horsepower, or you can buy a slightly used car that is still phenomenal and only costs you a percentage of that price. I don't mean from a consumer standpoint, but from a developer standpoint. When you are an SEO content writer, you learn something new every day. But the thing is though, these developers don't seem to think things through. The Switch isn't trying to aim for the more impressive graphics. I mean, look at how small it is. It's supposed to be a console that plays all kind of games that you can play at any time of day, and not have to sit in front of a TV or computer to play them. If I can't play Madden, at least there's NBA 2K. If I can't play Titanfall, at least there's Doom. If I can't play the new Oddworld, at least there are hundreds of other indie titles. I'm happy, however, that these devs are proven wrong, and it is strongly showing that Nintendo was successful with combining their home console hardware with a portable size to create a system for everybody.
Like, no, let me get serious for 1 second here. Like, anybody who tries to basically create something for esports, like, ahead of time without actually it doesn't work. You need to put it out there. You need to put it out there and see what the community wants.
Okay.